All right, welcome all you sticks and sippers. This is Frankie Drinks Marino, welcoming you to season two of Sticks and Sips. This is our first live broadcast for 2021. I thank all of you for tuning in tonight. We are super excited to start a new year with all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in all of 2020 and 2021 proves uh, at least right off the bat, to be no less exciting than all of 2020. So I am incredibly honored to host you on the Drew Estate virtual happy hour that we lovingly call Sticks and Sips. Uh, Listen, I'm going to ask my production crew because, listen, it's happy hour. We need to throw up what's on that happy hour menu. So tonight for our sips, we have Smith and Cross traditional style Jamaican rum and Scarlet Ibis, a beautiful Trinidad rum. Our incredible featured guest tonight, Mr. Jake Parrott from Haus Alpenz, and Mr. Joey Drew. You know, my Mescal Minute Man is our featured guest tonight. We also have a couple of great guests in the Zoom room as well. I'll get to them in a second. And as always, we've got the coolest, most unique swag. And for 2021, guys, we've got this beautiful Sticks and Sips cutter available only on the show tonight. All you've got to do is hashtag Ask Frankie Drinks or ask any of our guests a question. If we pick your question, you get this beautiful cutter, uh, beautifully made by our staff at the Global Creative department. A little bit of loveliness for your cigar collection, for your cigar cutter collection, and my
And a nice little
catchphrase.
inside and a nice inside joke too on the top.
Right? Yeah. You know, if you watch us enough, you know my catchphrase is, and with that, so you get this great cutter tonight. Listen, our stick for tonight is nothing more than the Liga Privada Unico Feral Flying Pig. Everybody loves that stick, so we're featuring that tonight. What a great way to get started for the new year, smoking the greatest stuff that we produce and drinking some of the finest rums we got. So, listen, our featured cocktail is something called the Mai Tai Fighter, and I'm going to ask production if they could roll that beautiful cocktail footage. So Mai Tai Fighters is just it's a Mai Tai, you know, but I'm serving it in some unique glassware. So we got an ounce of Smith and Cross. We got a beautiful ounce of the Scarlet Ibis. Just a beautiful balance of rums. A little bit of little Ferrand orange curacao, and a little bit of, you gotta have that orgeat syrup in there to get it nice and sweet and delicious. And then gotta get that lime juice in there. And then when you're making it at home, you've got to give it that really, really good shake. Part of shaking a cocktail is making sure you break up those citrus juices, make sure everything's incorporated nice. Give it a good hard shake. You know, give it a nice long count, man. It's got to be nice hard shake. Get that beautiful foam in there. And, you know, if you've got this beautiful tiki mug like I do, you know, here's my little stormtrooper for all you Star Wars guys. And one of the beautiful things I love doing is doing cocktails, especially for May the 4th. And so this is my take on that. So for any of you that miss the ingredients, you know, Jack, if you don't mind showing up the ingredients there while I take a little sip. So there you've got your ingredients. Pretty much easy to get. Directions are super simple. And enjoy this wonderful cocktail that I'm enjoying tonight. So cheers to all of you for joining us tonight on the first Sticks and Sips of 2021. So
Allude to that, baby.
oh, salute to all of you. That's delicious, man. That's truly, truly delicious. I'm going to go into the Zoom lounge, man. It's been way, way too long in the Zoom lounge this year. So I'm going to start with my man Joey Drew. How you doing, brother?
Doing it, man. Hey, we got Smith and Cross. What could be better? You know,
Oh my,
the official rum of the Swag Cave here at Drew State headquarters, where
oh,
we emptied plenty of these bottles. And
yeah.
yeah, this was great. When I heard that we were getting this one for the kickoff of the year, I was really excited about this. This is really cool, really great to have Jake with us and to learn a whole bunch more about this amazing spirit that we love.
Fantastic, my man. I hope you've had a great new year. We couldn't wait to get this year started. So, off we go, man. Off we go.
Yeah, kick it up with a
Next,
bang, baby. And we got two other cast of characters in this Zoom lounge.
yeah, we got like two killers from Drew Estate. I got my man Ray Warren joining us. Ray, say hello to everybody on Six and Sips.
Oh, you know, they say good stories come from bad decisions. This is one hell of a way to start the year.
Oh yeah.
First story, first show with a bottle of Smith and Cross.
There you go. There you go.
Great to be here.
Listen. We'll get to our Smith and Cross stories in a minute, but I'm super honored to have you on to kick off the year, my man. Thank you
It's
so
a
much.
pleasure to be here. Thanks for
Next up, I got my man Will McFall. How you doing, my man?
Bruh, I got my ducks in a row. I'm feeling good.
Man, it's awesome to have you on, man. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you for having me, brother. I appreciate you, man.
You are such a great asset featured to everybody out there in Drew State land. It's great to have you on, and your cigar knowledge, your spirit knowledge is definitely appreciated, and more importantly, our friendship. And I'm glad to have you on, and Happy New Year, and thanks for joining.
Appreciate you, bro. I'll drink to that.
Yeah, he's
right.
trying to get us kicked off the air the first episode. Watch this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. So,
Yeah,
last but not least in the Zoom lounge is my first guest. The wonderful. He is everything that a spirit guy aspires to be. Um, I've known Jake for a few years now, and every time hanging with him, it's an incredible opportunity to learn about all sorts of different spirits. And he represents Haus Alpenz, which is a portfolio of products that's unmatched in the world. So, without further ado, I welcome my first guest tonight, Mr. Jake Parrot from Haus Alpenz. Jake, welcome.
Good evening. Good evening. Happy New Year. We got cigars, we have rum, and we have Frankie drinks in full lighting. How bad could it be?
In full lighting, man. Welcome to the Sticks to Sip studio, man. This is the house that Drew built, just for these occasions. And I'm super honored to have you on. I'm gonna say a couple things, but just to let everybody know, and I'll let you kind of self-introduce what you do for Haus Alpenz. But one of the beautiful things that Jake does is, he's truly a spirits educator, and he educates the world of bars and of stores and of people about spirits, and it's one of the things I most admire about you, Jake, and the incredible job you do with the incredible portfolio you got. So tell everybody what you do for Haus Alpenz.
Well, I mean, we're a pretty small company, so I do a lot of things. I ideally, in a non-COVID world, I'd be a traveling rep, and I wouldn't be sitting in my office at home. But as a company, we have a pretty big book, virtually entirely devoted to drinking traditions. We like to say we like to find new drinkers of old things, and so when you do that, when you sell those kind of products, I think the biggest thing that we have to do is educate people that there's a lot of different ways of drinking the same thing, and these rums are a wonderful example of that. But that's something that goes through everything we do, and so I guess my job is to be able to have 20 different conversations about the same beautiful products. Very fortunate to be able to do that, and that's the way I like to operate anyway.
So Jake, I'm going to ask, everybody, they hear the words Haus Alpenz, and in the bar world, in the spirit world, it has a lot of weight, um, but not a lot of people know Haus Alpenz. So could you give us a little bit of background on the company itself?
Sure. We're 15 years old. We're an importer of products into the United States. So those of you coming from outside the U.S., unfortunately, we don't handle any of these products anywhere outside the U.S. And the reason you don't hear the name Haus Alpenz a lot is that we don't put ourselves out there. We put our producers out there. We work with a great stable of producers. A lot of folks probably know Dolan Vermouth, Koki Vermouth and Americano, Heyman's Gin, Smith and Cross Rum, Taylor's Velvet Falernum. And some people refer to us as the Indiana Jones of booze. We brought a lot of things back to the U.S. That were really important back in the old days of cocktails. Vermouth de Chambéry, the traditional French vermouth, Americano, the traditional Italian aperitif wine, Old Tom Gin, Damson Gin, Funky Jamaican Rum, although there's other great ones in the market now, Allspice Dram, Batavia Rack, Swedish Punch, Creme de Violette, Genepi, walnut liqueur that tastes like walnuts, a lot of things that we've kind of brought back to the market. And so we're very fortunate that we can stand behind those products instead of just sort of standing behind ourselves. And then in recent years, we've built up a little portfolio also of kind of traditional aged oxidative wines. I think most importantly for our cigar friends out there, we're the importers of a wonderful producer of Madeira, Henriques and Enriquez. So being able to kind of take our curiosity and our willingness to talk about to educate into the wine world has been a lot of fun. And it's also a lot of fun not having to sell 4,000 cases of a rosé in 4 months, like some folks have to.
A lot of people don't know what that's about, but but just to say that it's great to offer such amazing products, and hats off to Haus Alpenz for creating an amazing stable of incredible products. So Jake, before we do a deep dive into the rums, man, how did you arrive in the spirit world, man? Tell us about that journey.
So I had helped a friend in a small wine import company. This is in like 2005, 2006 timeframe. And so I learned kind of the lingo of the business. And then I met a fella named Bill Thomas, who, if you may know him as the owner of Jack Rose in Washington, D.C., probably the foremost whiskey bar in America. I met him back when he owned 2 smaller bars, both called Bourbon. And I had fallen in with a crowd that had been starting to pick some of the very early Willett family estate single barrels with the Colesvane family down in Kentucky. And so he and I picked some barrels and he decided to fund his brother starting a small distributor to clear him in. And so all of a sudden overnight, and on the side of a day job, I was a portfolio manager for a distributor of spirits in Washington, D.C., which is one of the most competitive, but also one of the most open spirits markets in the world. And through that, I met Eric Seed, the founder of Haus Alpenz, who's kind of the real visionary behind having a portfolio as diverse as ours. And in 2012, I took the plunge and quit my day job and went out on the road. And until March 11th of 2020, I was essentially traveling nonstop, spreading the good word.
Now, if you follow Jake on either Facebook or Instagram, Jake is famous for posting his flight plans. So if you need to get hold of him, you know where he was going at any given time. And I truly enjoyed those because he would post going from this airport through that airport to that airport. And Jake, I don't know how many miles you amassed in prior to COVID, but I'm sure that they were quite impressive.
I mean, there's a lot of road warriors out there. I do about 140,000 miles a year, but very fortunate that some of that gets to be with my wife to Japan and places like that. So,
well, listen, that sounds amazing. It sounds amazing. Jake, I'm gonna drop a little bit of I did a little bit of research. So I know or I found out, or this may be rumor, so only you can confirm this, that you are actually a chemistry major. Is that true?
I do have a degree in chemistry. Yeah.
All right, and it was from MIT. Is that correct as well?
You ask all the hard questions.
That he knows the answer to, right?
Such a gumshoe that Frankie drinks.
So listen, I mean, I find it truly, truly, it made all this sense in the world, Jake. That you would be that dude, that you would be this dude today coming from that dude then, because it makes all this sense in the world in your understanding of spirits.
I think it's more, for me, it's more of a process thing. Is like, I think it's really important, and Smith and Cross and Scarlet Ibis are great examples of this kind of process. Is like, you being able to talk to people about how to taste things, and then given what they taste, how to then think about how to use whichever product, in this case the rums, for a cocktail or just for a pairing with a cigar or whatnot. It's just keep an open mind of lots of different ways to do stuff.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So listen, without further ado, because I'm waiting on this. I've been waiting on this for weeks, man. So let's. I'm gonna ask my man Jack if he would throw up that first slide. We're gonna talk about Smith and Cross, and we're gonna talk about the Scarlet Ibis, and these are just beautiful, beautiful expressions of rum, each different from each other. So let's start with the Smith and Cross, my man. I mean, give me your spiel, and then I'm sure we're gonna have a room full of questions. So let's do it, man.
Sure. So Smith and Cross was a project we did with a company in the UK to really blend together an archetype big funky Jamaican rum for exactly the kind of drinks that you were making tonight, Frankie. Those classic old Jamaican rum cocktails and punches before that. Each of the islands in the Caribbean has built up its own tradition of fermentation and distillation and they're all pretty different and they're all pretty valid. It just so happens that in Jamaica, a great bit of the tradition was in wild fermentation, so open top fermentations like you might see in mezcal, pot distillation, and not being afraid of funk and fire in a rum, and so being able to blend something relatively young, so that it would keep a lot of those primary oils, and then bring it to market at a price that you could make cocktails with was really the plan. And we're very fortunate that we were able to put together something that people really dig. It does come in at 57% ABV, the sort of traditional Navy strength, which means if you soak some black powder in it, the powder will still light. And at that strength, it gives you a lot of different versatility. And I think in the world of cigars, of course, it's a bit chilly here in the Northern Hemisphere right now, but if you're going to have a cigar outside and you might want to linger over it for a while, this is a great rum that you can drink on the rocks. It's young enough and isn't raised in any new oak, so it doesn't have a lot of that harsh tannin that you get when you might put a big bourbon on ice. So you can kind of linger with it. On the other hand, it's got enough of that oily, creamy character that folks like Joey can knock it back straight at a rather decent clip too. It works great in drinks that are only a little bit diluted. I love to mix this with our Coqui Vermouth di Torino and make a what's called a palmetto, or what you might call a rum Manhattan. And that's not a drink where the rum is diluted all that much. But Ron is drinking it tonight with some hot apple cider, where the rum can be diluted quite a lot, and it's still going to show through really well. And in particular, showing through on the nose, showing through when you smell it, which is really the challenge in many cocktails, is getting a cocktail where you smell a lot. And Smith and Cross definitely does a great job of that. But a very classic Jamaican distillation, open top fermentation, all the muck, all the dunder to build all those estery flavors, and then not blending it away with a lot of lighter rums. This is just the big stuff.
Well, listen, we as Joey has alluded to earlier, this is kind of the official rum of your state. You know, we have adopted it so, and we enjoy it from our first experiences with it. And Joey, you want to go ahead and tell that story of our wonderful Jamaican IT guys that were in the building,
Yeah.
that lovely time we
That
were
was fun
drinking
because,
Smith and Cross?
yeah, I mean, that was fun because I know when Jake speaks to education, that's always fun. And I think we do that amongst each other all the time. We're always tipping off our friends and people that we meet to this, to something that maybe they never heard of. And in a way that's inspiring too. It's like it's education, but now you're inspiring someone to take a deeper look at something or discover something they didn't know was there. And so our Jamaican IT guys here in the office, we were playing some Jamaican music today, and we're having a good time. We were, slinging back some Smith and Cross, and we asked them if they, hey, you guys are from Jamaica. You ever have any Smith and Cross? They were like, no, what's that? We know everything, and they didn't know this. So we poured some for them, and they were like, oh my God, they're like, ooh, hogo. And I had never heard the word hogo before. And then Frankie instructed us in the ways of hogo and what that means. And they were wowed by it. They couldn't believe it, that they had won, that they had overlooked it, and then when they saw the price of it, they were even more blown away. They were like, oh my God, they were running out to go get another one. They were like, we need to find this right away.
In their words, what you know about Hogo, man?
Yeah, what you know.
What you know about Hogo, man? Because they were incredulous
Yeah.
that we knew Hogo. And for those that don't know, I'm going to refer to the source. Jake, what exactly is Hogo?
So Hogo comes from a French expression, au goût, or high taste, and it's high there, maybe referring more to um, the drying and tanning of leather than any other sort of lifted, something you might think of in the wine world as something lifted or bright or high. But it's I think it's the closest American or the closest English word to it is funk. Um, and that funk comes from, whenever you make a distilled spirit, right? You take some source of sugar, you ferment it, and then you distill it, right? When you distill it, you get alcohol, you get water, and you get yummy, right? And if, in the case of a rum like Smith and Cross, it's actually not taken off the still at all that low a proof. So there is a lot of alcohol, which is flavorless, but there's also a lot of yummy. And that yummy comes from a variety of sources. One is different airborne things that are fermenting the molasses wash as it goes. And then also they use the leftovers from the last still run, what's called dunder, and then a little bit of some secret sauce called muck to build out and allow for a few different things to go on. Lactic acid fermentation, much like you might see in the production of sake, plus the formation of other esters even during fermentation, and then distillation is a way of concentrating all of those flavors, and so that yummy becomes real yummy. And then for a rum like Smith, when you take a rum like that off the still, then you have a bunch of decisions to make: aging, how long to age; blending, how to blend, what to blend, whether to take the big flavored rum and dilute it with or smooth it out with more gently flavored rums. Virtually every producer in Jamaica makes a lot of different what are called marks or levels of funk of rums. And so, but the beauty of these rums, even when they come off the still, is they have so much stuffing and so much texture and so much oiliness that they work really well not that aged. And being a little bit younger means that when you whip them around in a shaker and you dilute them in a cocktail, they still show through really, really well, especially on the nose, because again, getting aroma in a cocktail is very, very hard. But those oils also mean you get that great texture for drinking neat. But hogo is the thing that makes rum lovers dance, but it's essentially funk.
Yeah, it's
mushroomy, roasted banana.
Yeah.
In some other places, hogo might be characterized by more turned earth aromas, getting closer to mezcal aromas, or even some certain grassy aromas might be called hogo.
Well, we definitely live in South Florida where you get this overwhelming where we love our maduros, which is our plantains, that are cooked, and you get that blast of a maduro, which is that cooked plantain, which is famous in the Caribbean, and that beautiful burnt caramel banana that comes through, and a little bit of that sneaker funk, that sweaty sneaker funk that I love, and I hope everybody out there that has not tried it, guys, you're gonna love that sneaker funk in your rum. So get out Smith and Cross. Ray, you got any words on Smith and Cross, my man? Because I know you love that stuff.
Uh, it's heavenly. Heavenly is the first word that comes to mind. You guys, when you introduced me to this, it totally caught me off guard, and I shouldn't have been surprised, especially from walking into the swag cave like we do periodically when we're working down in Miami, and it was a gift. It was a heavenly gift when you guys introduced me to Smith and Cross, because it'd been a long time since I had really dove into rum, and what a welcome back.
Yeah, it's like a nice big warm slap in the face.
Yeah, but if you have too much of that slap in the face, it's slapped by the big hand of stupid. So you got it'll creep up on you in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Well, like Jake said, listen, if you've got any gunpowder laying around and you want to test it, go right ahead. Go right ahead. We're behind you, but we'd rather drink it. Uh, but I love Smith and Cross, Jake. Such a great product, and man, like my man Joey said, you're not gonna find a group of guys that consume this by the numbers more than we do.
It ain't possible.
You know, call them out, man. Call out all those tiki bars, man. You know, you know, bottles per man. So BPMs, not beats per minute, bottles per man. We've got the US on lockdown, So listen, I'm gonna jump to one of my next favorites because is Scarlet Ibis, man. I've talked to my man Joaquin Simo over at Pouring Ribbons, and when he's at Death and Co, we talked about the Scarlet Ibis project, and I'm gonna let you tell the story, man, because it's awesome. It's awesome.
Well, I'd love to hear Joaquin's side of it.
Yeah.
But the easy, a little bit of inside baseball. 2007, the spirits business, especially the sort of geeky spirits business, was a much simpler place. We all kind of knew each other, and Brian Miller, or we call him Tiki Brian, who was one of the main dudes at Death and Co at the time. That whole crew, they wanted a rum that they could use for stirred cocktails, and we're there weren't that many people to call, and so they called us, and we worked with some blenders and with them to come up with this blend. So Scarlet Ibis, the Scarlet Ibis is the national bird of Trinidad. And as a matter of fact, with our next shipment, there'll be a new label that won't look like that. It'll actually have Scarlet on the label. So it'll be nice to have some Scarlet on the Scarlet Ibis label. But so this is a blend of rums from Trinidad, a blend of rums between 3 and 5 years of age, aged in ex-bourbon casks. So you will get a bit of vanilla coming out from that. Trinidad rums don't have the sort of banana roasted hogo type character. They're much more sort of linear. And so they take to the wood a little bit better. I like to think of this as kind of a crossover rum for whiskey drinkers. It's still 49% alcohol. It's not chill filtered, just like Smith and Cross isn't. And while it's certainly very much at home in stirred cocktails, it makes a hell of an old fashioned or a palmetto. I love it as the only rum in a Mai Tai. In fact, I think it has, again, Mai Tai is all about tasting the rum. And, if you have good Curacao and good Orgeat, you can get a lot of different rums into that drink and make it really work. But Scarlet Ibis to me just has just the right weight and heft to make that drink really sing, while not overpowering the other ingredients with a ton of oil. So that the drink that Frankie made at the beginning, we're using a bit of I call it Mr. Smith, a bit of Mr. Smith and a bit of the Ibis, is a really good example of how you can blend rums to really touch every part of your palate. A lot of people think of the Mai Tai as a real tiki drink, or as a real tropical drink with lots of juices and syrups. But of that whole genre, it's the one that shows the rum off the best. And so
Well,
putting those together.
listen,
really well.
I'm gonna take your lead on that, right? So, I know a lot of people have Mai Tais and out there, and they enjoy Mai Tais, but listen, you got to have a properly made Mai Tai to really really enjoy it, and like all cocktail history, um, if the Mai Tai goes, uh, it's debatable on who can lay claim, whether it's Trader Vic or Don the Beachcomber claiming that Trader Vic took the recipe. But the reality is a very simplistic drink, right? Consisting of lime, orgeat, curacao, and rum. And when it's done in perfect balance, it's truly beautiful. If it's out of balance, it's way too sweet. If it's got the wrong rum, it's not in great balance. And um, Jake, you've been to many, many great tiki bars as I have. And when they do that right, it truly is transformative.
It's
In
the
that,
most spirit forward sour drink in the entire canon, in my opinion. That said, the folks at Death and Co, they wanted it for stirred drinks, and it works extremely well in stirred drinks. And this is again where I think the crossover from whiskey to rum is really important, in that especially this day and age, the American whiskeys, the bourbons and ryes that we can afford to make cocktails with on a day-to-day basis are pretty young and raised in maybe barrels that weren't weathered long, the staves weren't weathered long enough or whatever. And, there's a lot of tannin, or what distillers call lignin, coming from the oak in those whiskeys. And it works really well drinking neat, but sometimes when you get it cold, that lignin, that tannin, really kind of clamps down on the tip of your tongue. Whereas rums like this, and Scarlet Ibis is a great example, you get all that flavor weight, and you get the vanilla you want, you get the spice you want from the oak, but because it's not in a new barrel, it doesn't have that tannin. And so if you're going to do a simple drink, but a cold drink, again, like a Palmetto or rum Manhattan, Scarlet Ibis is a really great example of how you're going to get all that breadth and complexity and depth you want from the spirit in the drink without the sort of tannin bit.
so I don't know what's a tiki bar in San Fran, not Forbidden Island,
Smuggler's Cove.
Smuggler's Cove, and they do the black rum Manhattan, the Black Prince. I believe it's a Black Prince, and that's I think it's I believe that Scarlet Ibis is part of that cocktail, and it is truly fantastic. Where it's basically a rum Manhattan in this tiki format, and it's truly truly exceptional. At least that's how I recall it, and if it's not true, hey,
is that promoted by Eddie Murphy?
Wrong.
Listen, so Jake, I've got one last piece here for you, and this is a big piece, and I want you to squeeze it into about like 30 seconds, man, because you've dropped so much knowledge on us.
We got time.
What was that?
It's like the longest running show on cable TV is scheduled for an hour that runs 4. We got limits now on time?
Of course.
Got a commercial break.
I've got a commercial break thing of, which my man, because I've got a commercial break. And, listen, in the meantime, I hope everyone's doing the hashtag Ask Frankie Drinks, for this dope ass cutter that we're giving away, and some cool swag and assorted goodies that we're going to give out. But Jake, listen, if you would take the next 30 seconds and give us the history of rum, because it's so important for us cigar guys, because we love rum. We just want to know the history of rum, and we've only got like 30 seconds.
Well, rum was a way of preserving a surplus of sugar. It was also a way of making sugar more valuable. There's a lot of things about the early rum trade and even the rum trade very recently where there's a lot of exploitation of folks on the islands and whatnot. And there's plenty of great people out there that can talk more about how rum producers are getting back to prominence without having the need for the overseas agent trade. But at its very core, rum was a way of creating value out of surplus sugarcane. Sugar was the most valuable thing in the world in the 1700s and 1800s, and rum was just a part of that. It was a very portable part of that.
Dude, 28 seconds. So congratulations. But listen, the world of rum, and thank you for that, Jake. I put you on the spot there, but that meant a lot because the role of sugar in the Caribbean, the role of sugar in Central and South America, finds a common history with the role of tobacco, and so there is that bridge between these, and I know there's a lot of people that don't like to talk about terroir, about distilled spirits. I'll leave that to Robin Robinson to debate. But I do feel that when we're tasting Smith and Cross, we've got that Jamaican terroir. That we've got that at least ideal of it, because cigars have that. You taste the region, even though we're blending with tobaccos from different parts of the world to bring together something. You're tasting part of that terroir. So I want to thank you for the incredible education on Smith and Cross and Scarlet Ibis and these rums, which I know we're going to have a bunch of guys building into their repertoire, just as long as you don't deplete my supply. That's all that matters to me. So I want to thank you for being a guest. Don't go anywhere because, listen, we've got our next guest, man. And our next guest is Mr. Joey Drew from Drew Estate. But before I go to my second guest, listen, I've got a huge, massive announcement tomorrow night on this same bat channel, right? We've got Freestyle Live, our first one of the year, and we're celebrating Herrera Esteli. So 7 o'clock, is that right? There we go. I got my producer, 7 o'clock. Mr. Willie Herrera, Mr. Jonathan Drew, Mr. Pedro Gomez, myself, Jack Hare will be on the Freestyle Live, and we've got a bunch of massive announcements to make and some cool swag to show off, and maybe even talk about a little bit of H99, I guess. I don't know. I don't care whether I'm allowed to say it or not. So we got some cool things coming. So tune in tomorrow night as well. So without further ado, Mr. Joey Drew, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. Oh wait, hold on. H99. I didn't want to show that. Hold on. Sorry.
No, don't show that because we're not supposed to say H99.
Man,
H99.
No, it's great to be back, man. It's good to be back in the seat, back ready to do this again. Great to see everybody out on Facebook chiming in, saying, "Hey, what's up?" and loading up the questions. That part's awesome as always. Great to see everybody. But Smith and Cross, man. I mean, that's what when you mentioned it that we were going to do the first show of the year with Smith and Cross, I was like, yeah. And so if you're going to start off a year like with a spirit as big and booming as this sucker is, you got to bring the big booming stick to go with it, and that's the Feral Flying Pig, which I lit up at the beginning, and you can see it's burning like a champ as it always does, and that's really it, man. To pair, you need something with some guts to it to stand up to a rum of this magnitude and flavor, and not only in proof but in flavor, and it's just fucking killing. Sorry. I dropped the first F-bomb of season 2.
All right. Yeah, there you go. 2021, the first one. The first one. Thank you, Joey. I certainly appreciate it.
I got this off the hook now.
So,
So
this fuck.
Oh, there you go.
there you go.
Here comes the FCC.
Yeah, here it comes.
George Carlin is reincarnated.
There you go. You know, off the rails on the second half of the show. Thank you, Jake, for hanging on. You know, making us keep true to the tracks, and then we just went right off. But Joey, I'm gonna ask you, man. First of all, for everybody out there, first, tell them who you are, man, so they get an idea. Maybe they forgot, maybe they had a brain aneurysm in 2020. Tell everybody who you are and what you do for Drew.
Yes, so I am the luckiest son of a bitch on the planet of the earth to do what I get to do for the most amazing company on earth, and that's Drew Estate. So I get to make graphics and work with branding and work with JD, who is, like, for an artist, he's the ultimate muse to have, somebody, to work along somebody that's so creative in all aspects of product development, branding, and just awareness to, our consumer base like nobody else. And to be a part of that for 20 plus years now has been amazing. And I come here every single day like, man, I can't wait to come up with something else with the rest of our team that we've built, and see where we're going to go from here, because it's amazing every single day. So I'm the luckiest guy. So you just met the luckiest guy that you've ever met is me. I get to smoke amazing cigars all the time. Willie's always handing me blends and asking me questions about stuff. And then with Frankie here, we get to drink all sorts of cool spirits and make cocktails. And it's great. And then we get to share it with everybody out there, which is even better. That's like the icing on top of everything, is like to be able to say, all right, we got all this good stuff. I'm the luckiest guy, but man, let's give it back to you guys and go down that same rabbit hole of adventure that, that we're all on together. So that's what I get to do. And then come on here and hang out and shoot the shit,
Well, listen, you've been on when we started this back April 15th or so. When we started show number 1, we went like 30 something weeks, 36 weeks in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. The pandemic has been something quite terrible to everybody. But you got to look at the silver linings of the negative things, and the silver lining has been the ability to have people like Jake with us, to have guys like Ray and Will and all our great Drew Estate family with us, and us sharing not only our love for our products, but the love about learning about new products and new things to enhance that experience. So keep those questions coming up, man. Ask Frankie Drinks, and we got this going. So get that cutter, get that hat. We're gonna send you some extra swag too. If Jack allows me to, we're gonna send you some mystery swag, and so expect that. But Joey, listen, take us on that ride with the Foral Flying Pig, man, because this ends up being that unique stick that people love to get their hands on, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a really big ring gauge smoker. I don't smoke a lot of 6x60s, except for this one. This is the one. Having a tapered head on it makes it a bit easier. But the flavor on this baby is massive. It creeps up on you because at first, I think the first third, you're thinking, all right, this is good. It's full flavored. Love the retro hell on it. Brings in a little bit of spice, not overpowering. But man, at the halfway mark is when you realize, oh, I may have bit off a little more than I could chew, right? But you power through it because, you have to. And when you pair it up with something equally as robust as the Smith & Cross, or even the Scarlet Ibis for that matter, that's where the magic really happens, in that pairing. And that's really, that's what you want. You want that magic to take place when you pair something together. So the Foral Flying Pig is spectacular for that. And it's for any of the Ligas. I mean, it's stronger, but it doesn't bash you in the face up front. It creeps up on you, that's for sure. And it's just got a world of amazing, dense flavors. You know, there's this rich earth, there's this chocolatiness, there's this subtle sweetness that comes through. And then when you retrohale, just a hint of that pepper ties it all back again. And it's just a magical smoke. I love this thing. And I know Will does. Will's how many feral flying pigs you think you post in a week?
None.
Come on.
None. I don't have any.
Well, now you don't because you posted them
You
all.
smoked them all.
Yeah.
You smoked them all. So, like, Jack, listen, before we get Will on here, let's throw up that graphic with what is the feral flying pig. So, we get this beautiful Liga Privada Unico, Connecticut broadleaf, wrapper, Brazilian Matafino binder, and a Nicaraguan filler. All filler, all killer, no filler. And it's just such an amazing aromas, when you get it. So, Will, I know you love smoking these, man. What can you say about the ferals?
It's the girl you see at the bar that looks cute, but when you realize you've been dating her for 2 weeks, she's crazy as shit. When y'all break up, you're always tempted to go back to her. That's the feral fine plague.
Hell yeah.
That's her.
That's I believe that's the exact description cigar aficionado would have for this cigar.
If they don't, Lifetime TV will steal it.
But I've got this one for Joey because he was smoking that. A lot of questions come, like, you can see that beautiful white ash, as that cigar is smoking, it's burning through. And my question was, is that more based on the type of tobacco, or is based on the fermentation or the aging? And Joey, what was your response to that?
It's making sure that your tobaccos are properly fermented to the point they need to be, and that the cigar has, after it's rolled, is that it sits in our cool rooms for an extended period of time as well. And so all those flavors then marry up together. But then also when you smoke it down the road, because after we've rolled it, it may not hit a consumer for 6 months or more, in many cases up to a year. So that lends itself to having that whiter, flakier ash that you'll get.
And I think that for a lot of people, that piece in between is from the pilon, from the time it hits that fermenting stage, that we take that leaf and then we let it rest as well, right? Even before we go to the rolling stage, that aging process as well is something that Jake, the chemical processes, much like the aging of wood prior to making it a barrel, prior to firing, it affects, that type of plant material, because that's what we're talking about. It's plant material, much like the wood stave that goes in a barrel. We're talking about a leaf that's been fermented and then sits and ages and is allowed to, to further its progress along the fermentation stage, though it ferments at slightly, smaller declines over time. And then by the time that we finally roll it, it's taking even further time where it oxidizes as it's exposed to more air in a slower period, leading to that beautiful white ash that we enjoy on a feral.
Yeah.
Ray, what's your sentiment on the feral, Ray?
My sentiment is I worked for the company for over a year before I smoked my first one. That's how hard they were to find.
Coolest violin for you.
Yeah. And then it's kind of like age 99. We're like, oh, we're Jones, and we had just a little taste when we go to the trade show, and all of a sudden, we can't get him, and Joey, every time we see him, he's smoking one, and I'm like, bastard, that son of a bitch. But
I'll let everybody on a little secret to that, so everybody out there on Facebook can go. So every quarter, right? All the regional guys, all the the managers would come in for meetings, and immediately the first thing that I would do when they would walk through the office in that morning is I would take an H99 band and I would put on whatever cigar I had, and I would put it on that cigar so that they would always see me smoking H99. And that's all they knew. I didn't tip them off to that for it was probably a good year I had the guys running on that.
more than a year, Joey. So we were there not every quarter, but every month. And the beauty of the beauty and torture of going down to Miami is that you're in Miami for a week, and me being a northerner, even though I lived down in the Carolinas for years, especially in the summer, man, it is just stifling. So we're stuck in the office, and we're working and working and working and meeting after meeting. But throughout the day, you get a little break, and you end up in the swag cave. And Joey's just, when you walk in, he'll grab a cigar, and you're seeing this H99. You're like, mother.
It doesn't matter. It could be a Corona, a Lancero.
Yeah, he's got something.
I
And,
put it
and
on every cigar.
finally, for us that are a little slower, the light comes on. But it's so much fun. But to go back to your initial question, Frank, is the first time I smoked that was in a shop in Virginia, Jake, and with a customer and a buddy of mine that actually showed up at an event. It was after the event, and it was such a wonderful, relaxing experience. And everything that Joey described was totally on point. And the three of us sat there smoking feral pigs and just having a great night. We cracked open a bottle, and just a wonderful experience. But the thing about Liga is when they arrive at the store, they're ready to smoke. So when you see them on the shelf, you better grab them and light them up.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been
That's
seeing
when
that for
they're the
years.
richest. They
Yeah.
are rich and ready to go.
Yeah, so many people always like to say, "Oh, I like to age my cigars and stuff," and I'm like, "No, we made them for you to smoke now. Yeah, you can smoke it 6 months from now, or you can no smoke that sucker now, man. It's ready. We made it to be ready."
No, Joey, let them age them. When they invite me over, I steal them.
Well, that's because you got your ducks in a row. Well,
My ducks are in a fucking row. Woo!
Woo, yeah, quack quack.
That's a lot of fucking quacking, bro. That's a lot of material, bro.
That's a lot, yeah. 300
Listen.
plus pounds, yeah.
Yeah, listen,
that's a hell of a Donald.
That's a slim 300. Slim 300.
Slim thing.
These are
You know,
Cornish.
hey,
These ain't ducks.
I didn't know Pajama Grand sold that size.
Don't be sizes, Joey.
all right. So, and with that,
Whoa.
and with that, the first one of the year, we're gonna go to our questions. So, Joey, do you want to do Mezcal Minute? Do you have any Mezcal?
I do.
Jake, are you? Listen. Are you down with Mezcals, Jake? This is a loaded question.
Well, I've only been to Oaxaca 4 times.
Oh.
I will admit I have a very soft spot in my heart for the folks at Mezcal Vago, and so most of what I have at home is Mezcal Vago, other than the stuff I bought in Guadalajara and things like that. But no, Mezcal is you learn more about yourself as a taster from tasting 3 mezcals than you do from tasting 100 whiskeys.
Yeah, I agree to that 100%.
My man. And 3 weeks from now,
Yep.
we're gonna have Dylan from Mezcal Vago on the show. So I'm super excited. I know Joey's super excited. What a start to the year, man. We got like Smith & Cross, Scarlet, Ibis, all the great stuff from Haus Alpenz, and then we're gonna have Mezcal Vago in a couple weeks. It's going to be fantastic. So,
This one.
so Joey has his thing called Mezcal Minute. So what do we got? We got
Alipus. This is the one. So if people are hunting from watching the show, saying, "Oh, what should I go for?" There's so many different brands out there that you'll see on the shelf. Some of the bigger producers that are out there, but it's really the ones that are some of the older ones that have come into America, and Alipus is definitely one of those. Super authentic, just an amazing. They mainly do Espadin. They don't really verve off into some of the other varietals of agaves that are out there. And they make an amazing product. This one in particular is from Santa Ana del Rio. And this one in particular, we got this bottle in house yesterday. So, oops.
yeah,
Imagine that. Imagine that.
And,
yeah, we have issues.
it's
That's
there's this great minerality, that stoniness mixed into like a world of like wild pine and honey, and it's just like you said, it takes you on this flavor ride, and it really opens you up as a person who knows the flavors you've ever encountered, and you're encountering it in a completely new and different way, and that's the beauty and the magic of mezcal, and they pair well, obviously, with cigars.
all right. You have gone past your minute, Joey. Thank you very much.
Mezcal.
All right, so because it's Mezcal Minute, we're gonna adhere to this.
The questions are ready to go.
All right, so first question, first winner of 2021. Let's give it up for Jason Ojeda. What was your favorite gift this year for your birthday? And hey, that's kind of hard to say, but I did receive some really cool tiki glassware. So that was my really excited gift. And what better to put in tiki glassware than Smith and Cross and Scarlet Ibis, and maybe a little velvet falernum, little Jake, what's a corn in oil for everybody that's out there? Because they're like, what the hell are you talking about?
Corn and oil is the national drink of Barbados. It's good Barbadian rum, a bit of velvet falernum, which is a liqueur made from rum and lime, and a little bit of spice and other stuff, but mainly rum, lime and sugar. It's quite sweet. Most folks put a dash of bitters in it. It's sort of like an island old fashioned, but it particularly works well with great Barbadian rums that have a lot of depth without being too much on the banana side. But falernum is also so important for all sorts of tropical cocktails. It adds it's sort of an all-purpose sweetener. I use it to sweeten sangria. You could chuck some into your hot cider, Ray. It's a great all-purpose sweetener, but it was a way of preserving surplus limes in Barbados back in the day. But then entered the cocktail world in the late 19th century in Bermuda and got to America soon after that.
Well, along with Velvet Falernum, I'm going to talk about like St. Elizabeth Allspice Dram, because that was the last cocktail of 2020 that I made with few. I made something called the Chicago Lion, which was a lion's tail. And you can't make a lion's tail without allspice dram. And that's a pimento liqueur, beautiful as well. I know I'm missing two. I'm missing Swedish Punch and, a Rack Batavia for this line. But I promise you, I will have them complete next time.
Cronin Swedish Punch is awesome with cigars.
My man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, these guys don't know, but we're going to take them on that journey. We're going to take them on that journey little by little. Ray, Will, we're going to go on that journey together, man. And we're going to bring other people on with us. That's the key.
Good stories come from bad decisions. Good.
What are you talking about? Your best decision was walking into that swag cave and saying those famous words. What are you guys drinking?
Yeah.
So next up, Mr. Adam Ferris. Congratulations. You are the winner of our swag here. Strictly a neat bourbon guy what bourbon do I need to be reaching for with a Feral? So, Ray, you're a big bourbon guy. So what do you want to drink when you're smoking a Feral?
What do I want to drink bourbon wise when I'm smoking anything?
A
Yeah.
Feral Flying Pig.
Well, I my go-to is Buffalo Trace. I I'm biased there, and I've been drinking that well before it went off the reservation. Uh, as far as everybody was, nobody knew what it was. It was 25.99 of a fifth, and a beautiful, beautiful bourbon. But on a Feral, gosh, there's so many, and it really depends on what you're looking for to get out of that cigar. I like what I like. I started drinking Manhattans at a relatively young age. I was introduced to them uh, before I'll say.
When it was in the little bottle with the little nib on the top, right?
So, as far as a bourbon that will pair well with a Feral Flying Pig, uh, uh, so many. It just really depends on what you're looking for. Uh, I go back to Buffalo, uh, to the Trace. Uh, it it really there's and if you get some barrel selects that have a little bit more vanilla in that vanilla flavor in there, um, that really marries well with that Feral Flying Pig. But I like some kick to my bourbon. So, you can, I mean, there's so many good bourbons out there that you can marry that with that are very cost effective. And, you know, I,
Yeah, you don't need to go get some like crazy, 80,
yeah,
100 plus dollar bottle of bourbon. You can get something off the shelf that's readily available that tastes great and will complement the cigar. Four Roses would work great. Any of
Four
those.
Roses, that single barrel, I mean, is wonderful. It's the yin to the yang,
Yeah.
to that cigar. So, explore it, and that's the beauty of cigars, and that's the beauty of bourbons, and of rums and of vodkas. It doesn't matter. You explore it, and if you don't explore it, you're missing out. You're really missing out, and you don't have to burn a hole in your pocket to do it.
Absolutely not. And I'm gonna thank you, Ray. Will, what's your go-to when you're thinking of a Feral Flying Pig?
On Redbreast 15.
Ooh.
Lovely, lovely. So you're talking about a pot
Subtle.
still Irish whiskey,
That's
right?
subtle, baby.
Right. But the question was a bourbon.
Oh.
Oh, my bad. I drink a lot, so fuck them. That goes with that too as well. So now add something else to your repertoire. But if it's a bourbon, if it's a bourbon, actually I like E.H. Taylor Small Batch to go my Feral.
Beautiful,
Oh,
beautiful,
that's
man.
meaty. Man, that is like E.H. Taylor is like the Smith and Cross of bourbon.
Right, I'm
Well,
telling you.
so Jake, I'm gonna ask you a question. If we were to do an equivalent bourbon to the Scarlet Ibis, what would you say is that close jumping off point?
I'm an inveterate fan of Four Roses single barrel, and it's a little bit bigger than the Ibis. I find the Ibis, if you thought about a mythical blend of Four Roses small batch and Four Roses single barrel, I think you'd be pretty darn close.
Nice, nice. Um, Listen, you got a ton of information there. I'm gonna say Evan Williams, single barrel. I think it's a best value, um, right intensity for a Feral, not overwhelming. not underwhelming, probably right in that range where they play off of each other. Great product by Heaven Hill. So you know, you guys got different avenues to explore. So next up, Sam Walker. Ask Frankie Drinks, what's your opinion on Whiskey Rocks? Stay with ice or worth switching? Man. I'm gonna go to Jake Parrott on this. Jake, do we want that dilution or we don't want dilution when it comes to whiskey?
I think dilution helps. If you chill a neat brown spirit, especially a bourbon or rye, but that's going to really bring the texture of the wood to the fore. Flavor is deadened by coldness, but tannin isn't, and you wouldn't serve red wine super cold. So I think, but dilution broadens flavors. So even though you might not get the overall flavor intensity, I think if you want to drink your whiskey cold, I would say do it with ice. You want that bit of dilution. I am, as I said in the pre-show, I'm socially distanced from my samples these days. So I am drinking a cask strength whiskey from Wilderness Trail, wonderful new distillery in Danville, Kentucky. But I'm diluting it with a bit of water. So this is a cask strength, a single cask from one of our distributors. But
Jake, that makes a phenomenal Manhattan.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
And happy to provide the Koki Vermouth de Torino for that
Man.
Manhattan.
Man.
Thank you, Matt Krim, for introducing that to my world.
I believe that.
So listen, great information about dilution and chilling in regards to whiskey. And when you're like in hotter climates as well, you actually need, in my humble opinion, you actually need to chill that whiskey a little bit, and I often tell folks, and Jake, you'll forgive me on this. I'm a big proponent of two-fisted drinking, which is that you have yourself a nice neat pour and that you have yourself a highball when you're enjoying a cigar. So the neat pour is to get the flavor in the mouth in very small sips and get it all around the palate. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take a draw from the cigar. You're going to get those flavors washing over you. And then what you're going to do is take the highball as your rinsing agent, but the rinsing agent has those trace elements of that core whiskey that you're tasting. So to keep them on that palate, you're still refreshing a carbonation that's lifting some of those oils that are being deposited on your palate from the cigar, but you're replacing them with the whiskey and just layering and washing with the same elements. And so
rinse and repeat, baby.
Rinse and repeat, man.
All this talk about dilution and leaf fermentations have me thinking about tea more than anything else.
Oh man, my man, you know this. So we're gonna talk about tea in the future for sure. So I've got to get to my next question. Marcus Sidney Hand, congratulations, man. You got some like cool sidecar freaking Six and Sips cutter swag. What did you drink for New Year's Eve? And listen, man, you gotta have champagne, man. So and you gotta have champagne from the Champagne region. If not, it's sparkling wine, right, Jake?
That's correct. I will say New Year's Eve is usually an early night for us. So because of what we were eating, we did drink a wonderful older sparkling wine from the Montlouis region of the Loire Valley. But on New Year's Day, we drank a wonderful champagne from François Martineau that was really, really killer.
I hate you, Jake.
So well.
Yeah, it's like this dude drinks better than anyone on the planet.
I don't even drink better than you, Frankie.
Oh man, really?
Both you guys.
Fire.
There we go. There we go.
Fire.
Yeah, I figured it would have been you. You know, it's like Ray went off the rails, man.
No,
I'm
Ray,
sorry, it's that. I meant to send that.
in
That's
these
why
Hollywood
you don't care
squares,
enough to send
Ray
the very best.
wild card, bro. Ray is the wild card in these Hollywood squares. I know
I'm
my
sorry,
moment.
I meant to send that.
Okay, yeah. All right. So, Jake, we got to talk about what you were drinking and what I was drinking, you know, because I was slumming it with Veuve Clicquot. So, you know, hey, man, it was on sale at Costco. What can I say? You know, I love my people LVMH. You know, it was good.
Wow.
You know, my boy Eddie, who owns a liquor store, says they sell it cheaper than I could buy it. I'm like, so I'm buying it over there. It's like, I love you, Eddie. Hope you're watching, man. Veuve Clicquot, that's some good shit, man. You know, if you want to make a mimosa and you want to live it up, Veuve Clicquot, that's the way you go. You know, so, but Jake, you got to send me your recommendations. I want to try some of that stuff. Sounds amazing. Ken Melendez, is next question is, what's your favorite piece of artwork you helped create for DE? And that's a question for Joey Drew.
Yeah.
Joey, what's your most famous, you know, what's the thing that you love, man? And it's hard to pick amongst the many children you've created for Drew Estate. What's that thematic thing that you've created?
I mean, for a logo type of thing, maybe it would be the Undercrown lion head, which was a combination of like a bunch of different pieces of, you know, heraldic style stuff. But even still, like the acid stuff, you know, our New York accent, that was like a piece of art that, you know, that spoke to me. There was a guy in New York City back in the 80s that used to do these amazing like silk screen and painted prints of buildings and stuff. And I always kind of remembered that when I created this one for the acid brand, it just felt right. It felt good. It was the right time. And it was, you know, really for me and JD, especially, it was like, you know, it's our New York accent. It's where we're from. It's where this company was born. It's the attitude that runs through everything we do. And then that was the way of showcasing it. Hey, this is where we're from. We don't back down from that, even though we've moved to different places and we've moved about in the world and life. And but New York is the home, you know, that we will always call it. And so that, yeah, to me, right there on my screen, there it is.
I love it. I love it. So Ken, I hope you know, enjoy your swag. You know, that's it, man. That's our 5 winners for 2021. Our first guys in. And I cannot be more appreciative of everyone tuning in to Sticks and Sips tonight, episode 1, season 2. And I've got to thank, you know, everyone that's come onto the show, starting with my man Will McFall, who's been incredibly silent, so I could expect the barrage and the storm in the after party. You know, so I'm waiting for the good stuff, Will. But I do want to say thank you, man.
Can I introduce the asshole minute? I'm picking a question that I saw on Facebook. You get no prize. You get no.
All right.
But Will from Scarlet, you asked how many ducks or Cornish hens was on my onesie. 75 of quacking motherfuckers is on my onesie, bro. I counted them earlier today. 75, asshole, maybe a half because of that butt seam, but 75 motherfuckers right there.
All right. Will's back. All right. So next up, my man Ray Warren. Thank you so much for being on Sticks and Sips.
It's an honor to be here.
Really?
Yes. What are you telling me? Hey, you know, like I said,
where was he gonna go? You know,
good stories come from bad decisions, and as long as I'm still employed tomorrow, it's all good.
It's all good, man. You gave me the finger. You gave me and Jake the finger because we, you know.
I know. I gave you this.
Okay, yeah, okay. The old stubby. I got you. I got you.
Don't care enough to send the very best.
Don't worry. When Jake gives me what he drank on New Year's Eve, you know, we'll send you a bottle. You know, I know people at Winebow. So my man Joey, Listen, man,
Yeah,
episode one on our long journey. It's been an honor to have you on as my featured guest, and talking about all things that we love, and we definitely love that Smith and Cross, brother.
Oh man, it really is. It's the secret weapon, and it's so and being a packaging guy, it's so unassuming in a sea of bottles on shelves with garish labels and all sorts of colorful stuff. This just sits there and you're like, it looks so plain and so staid and you don't
It's
realize
the girl next door, Joey. It's
like,
the girl next door.
what's inside this bottle.
Who's a freak?
Is yeah, she's a freak. She's a freaky girl. And
He's
when
from
you
Hialeah.
bottle this sucker, you're gonna be like, damn, Joey and Frank, you've ruined my life.
The mother.
You ruined my life with the Smith and Cross. That's how good it is.
She's a very sexy girl.
All right, Joey, man, super honored to have you on as always. Thank you for being my number two, all the way through 2020. 2021 is going to be an amazing year. And last but not least, my man Jake Parrott from Haus Alpenz, man. Thank you for sharing that amazing amount of knowledge, my brother. We could have 10 of these episodes and never run out of the things you've got to say. Thank you so much.
No, it's really great to be here with all of y'all again. Happy New Year. I'm just glad I could be part of Ray feeling honored.
No one's ever said that shit.
Jake is a killer. He's low in the weeds, man, but he is a killer. Jake, we love the products that we have tried, at least for myself, from Haus Alpenz. That I've creeped around all the bars, that you've creeped around in, and we've had the beauty of being able to sample all these great things and still to explore new things from the portfolio. You've got a wonderful person that works with Haus Alpenz and Nicole. So big shout out to Nicole Ciani for doing an amazing job. She was always truly amazing representing these brands and the entire portfolio. So what can I say, man? I cannot be more honored that you joined us. Joey, you had something to say?
No, I appreciate it. It's check us out at alpenz.com, ALPENZ, and keep these guys straight the rest of the year.
And you can find out where you can get Smith and Cross on the website, right?
We can't talk about individual shops, but we do have our distributors there. You can always hit me up if you need help finding it. It's pretty well distributed. Even those state stores around Ray's place has got it.
There you go.
Don't worry about it, Jake. Frankie is sending me a case.
Hey.
That ain't happening, man.
Bro,
Dude,
bro, I didn't have any, bro. I need a six.
It took me a week to get my boy Eddie to get his wine boy guy to get it for him.
I thought you had weight in the game, motherfucker. You seem lightweight in the game, bro. You got connect.
Kenny. Hey, that's not Frankie. That's Kenny Powers.
Yo, who's Kenny Powers?
I don't know who he's talking about. Anyway, so Jake, man, thank you so much, man. Thank you for making episode 1 of 2021 an amazing experience. Thank you for everybody that tuned in. Let's throw up that graphic out there. Listen, we are still in COVID, so support your local brick and mortar cigar shops and your brick and mortar liquor stores, all those guys that are ordering these amazing products for you. Support your bartenders. They're the guys that make the beautiful cocktails with these amazing products. And it's always provides them with the avenue to give you amazing hospitality. So don't forget to support them. Find us on Instagram at Drew Estate Cigar, at Frankie_drinks. That's me. Listen, next week. Well, shit, I'm not talking about next week. Tomorrow, Freestyle Live. Tune your asses in from 7 to whenever I'll be there. Pedro Gomez, JD, and Willie Herrera, plus my man Jack being the MC. An entire, 35 minutes, Jack? 2 hours? 2 hours and a half? He said we're going to be on the air for 4 hours.
Hey, but Frankie, don't forget one thing, Frankie. At 6:45, keep your local TMs. They got some shit for you.
There you go. So jump on with your local TMs. They're going to give us the pregame.
Little sneak peek.
And next week, I've got my man Tim Rita Jr. from Liars, non-alcoholic spirit, man. This is the new trend, man. Low ABV, no ABV. This is how, this is the new. So tune in. And with that, I am out. Season 2, episode 1. Cheers, everybody. I love you, man.